Now, let me divert in the minutes we have left with you to domestic issues, because obviously there's a ripple effect on what's happening in Iran, throughout the Middle East, but it's actually even having an impact here in the United States, where you have people like Steve Bannon, Charlie Kirk, Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson, that are virulently angry at President Trump and believe that President Trump is a traitor to his own revolution that he started, the American First Revolution. And then, of course, on the other side, you have people probably like yourself, myself, maybe some even further hawkish, like Lindsey Graham. So here's the provocative question, if you will. I think that the outcome of this crisis that we have, that either it could potentially destroy the Trump revolution and mandate that he has, or he's going to be on Mount Rushmore because of the success of this vehicle.
That's interesting, because there is a divide that you see within the right on foreign policy. I tend to think Reagan had it correct, which is you want to have a very strong economy and a very strong military, and you use them sparingly, okay? When they occupied a part of Lebanon briefly,
Yes,
the
I
Reagan
remember
administration,
in the early 80s.
and took them out.
After the bombing.
As they
Yes.
said, we're going to leave in 6 months, and they took them out. There were people who thought they'd tricked us into staying forever and becoming the occupiers of Lebanon, which would have been
a disaster.
A disaster. Everyone would have ended up hating you. And they did knock off the dictatorship in the Caribbean. And so that...
Is it Grenada?
Grenada, sorry. Yeah, it's a small country.
Yeah.
In, out, done.
And nasty little, I mean, people don't remember, this is a nasty little communist down there that was playing footsie with the Cubans. And, us Monroe Doctrine folk that believe in the Monroe Doctrine could not let that happen.
No, it would have given an okay to Castro to take over any other island he wanted to.
Yep.
And that failed. And it failed. So we succeeded. Castro failed. I think the Reagan effort of supporting other people, the support that Trump in the first term and since then has given to the Ukrainian army. Now he's got them paying for the war. But a well-armed Ukraine that doesn't get eaten by Russia is the best defense for every country in Asia, because China will say, if the Americans wouldn't allow Russia to eat half of Ukraine, they will react to Taiwan,
of course,
or to taking a chunk of Vietnam or Laos or some of all of their neighbors. So I think where Trump has followed the Reagan peace through strength position and supporting armed resistance against dictators without occupying the place. We supported the Afghan resistance to the Soviet Union. We didn't occupy the place. We didn't send American
No nation
troops.
building there, right?
It's when we put troops there that it becomes expensive and people get unhappy.
Absolutely. Do you see a real danger in that split in the conservative divide? I mean, Marjorie Taylor Greene is another one who's in Congress right now. In fact, this situation has created strange bedfellows where you have Marjorie Taylor Greene and a couple of really solid Republican senators that are libertarian in orientation, allied with the squad. Talk about strange bedfellows. But just talking in terms of the movement itself, do you see a real danger? I mean, Trump created an extraordinary revolution politically in terms of the coalition that he put together. But coalitions are only as good for as long as they last. And does this conflict have the potential to put a real split in the movement and undermine the Trump presidency?
I don't think so. I'm not certain that much of the support for Trump in the last three elections, against Hillary Clinton was predicated on some of these foreign policy issues. I think it was largely
the border,
his support for
immigration,
a secure border, lower taxes, less regulation, and those were the issues he talked about. He did say not endless wars,
Right.
but he was very loud about no Iranian nuclear power in the
He's
first
been crystal
election,
clear on that.
2016. So, and that's not the same thing as we want to occupy the place or tell them how to live or tell them what religion they have or any of that stuff. Just we will be in the business of supporting people who want them not to have a nuclear weapon.
Right.
And in this case, that's Israel. But it could be any number of countries in the region that also have that concern.
Well, you know, I think about Iran that almost every day chants death to Israel, death to the United States. You know, my father used to say, Niger, you want to be careful. You prefer to walk softly and carry a big stick, not sell wolf tickets, as in the boy who cried wolf, if you will, because at some point those tickets get bought. And it seems to me that Israel has bought those tickets and believe what Iran, the Iranian mullahs have said for decades, which is their ultimate objective and ambition is the destruction of the state of Israel and then later the United States.
Yeah, well, the Israelis made their decision. It might be in part because Iran has also been supporters of the Houthi in the south,
Yes.
which have attacked Israel from there. They were the supporters of Hamas as
Yep.
well. So they may have viewed that as part of the fights they have with some of their neighbors or with pieces of their neighbors. I do think ultimately Ukraine is the bigger picture. A Ukraine which stops Russia from taking it over makes the next, if they take Ukraine, Putin takes Ukraine, then Putin says, why not every other country, 14 of them, that we let leave? Why not the stands? Do you think anybody in the United States can spell or pronounce many of the stands
sure,
that broke away
sure.
from Russia that make Russia less threatening to the world because they're not there running those places anymore?
Right, right.
And I think it would be a disaster for Russia to reconstitute itself. It is now basically a child of China. They get to pretend to be independent and important, but China runs them.
Very interesting. Well, on that somber note, Grover, let's have our prayers for our friends in Israel and prayers for the entire region. Any loss of life is tragedy. Thank you so much for joining us today. It was a great conversation. And that concludes another edition of Niger Innis Presents the Trump Revolution, a part of the TvAbraham network. And I always close with what my daddy, Roy Innis, a great civil rights icon, taught me. He said, Niger, I want you to always operate with TLC. And he said, no, it doesn't stand for truth. It does stand for tender love and care, rather. It stands for truth, logic, and courage. Well, that's the foundation that this program sits on and the entire TvAbraham network sits on. Thank you again for joining us. We'll see you next time.